Hey guys, this is Dr. Vic. You're listening to an episode here on the Wellness Path podcast. Excited to have you on as we're going to be diving deep into sensory processing disorder, otherwise known as SPD. And I'm going to explain a little bit how everybody has this, actually. It's not something that, when we look at it from a medical side, it's like, oh no, it has to be at this certain level, to a certain degree. But once I explain it, you're going to realize that, oh, maybe I have a little bit of that too. And there's different variations to it. And what do I mean that everybody has this? Not in the way the medical world looks at it, and so much more. Before we dive in, check out everything in the show notes from joining finding us on Facebook, connecting with us. If you have any questions, topics that you may be interested in, our little freebie on the wellness guy is in there too. Go ahead and click the link down there. It breaks down what do I recommend when it comes to looking at optimizing every facet of your health. And there's so much more I could put in there, but I wanted to give you at least the core basics. It's about a 10-page ebook. So definitely click on there, download it, and start diving deep into it. So SPD, sensory processing disorder. What it really is when you look at it, it's just basically information, sensory input going to the brain that is either not being processed properly. So what ends up happening is you either have a hyper or overstimulation or hypo or understimulation of a sensory input. And this, what you'll see in kids is they'll have things like motor control issues, sensory, like you get overstimulated really quick over the littlest things. It may be auditory, maybe visual, and things along that nature. And not only get the motor issues, you also get behavior and mood stuff, right? Think about yourself when you're overwhelmed and overstimulated, especially if you have children and they keep asking you 1,000 questions and you're already burned out as it is. Your mood's not going to be the sweetest and nicest and kindness, okay? And there's nothing wrong. This is human nature. It's how we are. When we're burned out and exhausted, it's really hard to try to stay centered through that. And so when we're looking at sensory processing disorder, this is where we look at it. It's just an impaired information going up to the brain in some way, shape, or form, and it overwhelms or underwhelms. Now, how do I say that? And I'm very confident saying this, that all people experience this or have this in some way, shape, or form, is because sensory processing means that information that's going up doesn't get there properly. It's not being signaled correctly. Okay, that's what a subluxation is, or a misalignment of the spine is, and that's what affects many different individuals. So when we're looking at the aspects of why do I say that everyone has that? Because that's what really chiropractors are looking at, is how do we improve the sensory information to the body? How do we get better quality information, and so that the brain can do what it can? How can we get good input to the brain so they'll keep it less stressed? It will stimulate more of the self-healing, self-regulating mechanisms of the nervous system, and so much more. That's the component that we're looking at when it comes to this. And so if you got a child who has SPD, trust me, I've worked with children with this, and it's a different situation every single time. Sometimes it leads to, easily they get overwhelmed like that in a snap of a finger, and you're like, what did I do? And then sometimes it's just it could be water on their skin that freaks, bothers them. It could be a sensory, a physical sensation issue where they can have a touch and it feels like a burn, right? That's also a sensory processing disorder. It's more on the extreme, like I want to say extreme side, but it's more on that level. But there's different variables to this and how it can play a role. The thing is, chiropractic can help drastically. Okay. It's a game changer. I'm not saying it's the end all be all. No, I'm not saying that at all. I think health is something you have to encompass with many different pieces of the puzzle. And having a chiropractor who knows all those pieces makes it a lot easier for you. But I am saying that chiropractic is the main essence to it, because what you do with a nervous system that is overwhelmed or easily overstimulated, this can lead to like anxiety and stuff like that too, anxiousness, ADHD. What ends up happening is we're helping to reset the nervous system to get it back to a more optimal state. And then when we can do that, the person can adapt better. They get the signals that come a little better and proper, they come better to the individual, to the child, so that their brain isn't overwhelmed or underwhelmed, right? The signal doesn't need to be a lot to get there. Something like a sensory processing disorder, which is this is a form of that, is someone who has a high pain tolerance. And I can relate because I have that. And so someone who has a high pain tolerance means that you have hypostimulation, which means you need a lot of stimulus in order to fire the pain receptors. Okay. And what we want to do is, that's not great, because there's other reasons behind that, like growing up in a very stressful environment, having a lot of trauma, all these different things play a role with high pain tolerance. It kind of relates. It can be the opposite too. So I don't like to put it in one way, but this is what I have seen over years, working with different kids and adults and so forth who may have it. But long story short, this is where chiropractic will come in, and it'll help just get it more regulated and get it to be more optimal. And that's the key focus of it all. And through the chiropractic care, a specific care, which means high frequency visits, because we have to rewire the brain. And in the beginning, you want to do as much work as you possibly can. That's why you see a chiropractor a lot in the beginning. And then it should taper down as time goes on. And the reason why that happens is because we're starting, once the brain starts to pick up on these new patterns and it starts wiring differently, then we know we don't have to put as much input. So we can lower it down a little bit. And then from there, we hold that for a certain frequency of time. And then once that starts to change the brain and we know we can see the results happening more, especially with testing, neural testing and things like that, then we can go down to once a week or even then possibly maybe every other week. I usually don't recommend that too much, but at least weekly. And that will maintain what we've changed in the brain and allow for these changes to become more of a long-term experience as much as we possibly can. And I say as much as we possibly can because I can't control someone's environment. So it could be, we have seasons of stress. You've experienced that as a parent or as an individual. There's different seasons of stress. So we can't manage all that stuff and what goes on in the world and all these other things. But we may give you the best opportunity to adapt to the best that you possibly can to your environment. And that's thriving, that's healthy, and so much more. And so through gentle chiropractic care, we can do those kind of things where we can shift and allow for helping this by first getting the nervous system to regulate better, getting nerve information to get to the brain and a better quality signal. And from there, the brain can start to create better outcome. This is why a lot of times when I work with kids, yes, can we help with sensory input? Of course. But what happens from that? Kids sleep better hand-eye coordination. Kid gets better in sports. They get better in school. Right? They have a better mood and regulation. Yeah, they have moods. They're kids. They're supposed to do that. But they see them get upset and then they reset back pretty quick. And I go, that's what I like to see. I don't want to see a kid where they have a meltdown, and a meltdown, it takes 30 minutes to re-regulate. That's not a regulated nervous system. We want to be able to see if they have a meltdown, then we see them bounce back within 3-5 minutes, depending on what's going on. It could be a little longer. But the key point is we see a quick rebound and they reset. That's a good regulated nervous system that has a good, strong, what I call brake pedal or the parasympathetic nervous system, so it can pull back pretty quick. You see these in animals, like if ducks get in a fight, after they get done, they shake everything off. If you ever see two dogs get in a fight, it's kind of scary looking, but once they get done, they shake everything off. That re-regulates their nervous system to get them back into that brake pedal state pretty quick. So when we start to do that, those are the effects of what we normally will see in children: sleeping better move, improve immune system, better coordination and function, hand-eye coordination. Especially if athletes, this will help them soar in all the sports that they do. Injury prevention, better healing and repair, all this stuff. And so from chiropractic care, we improve the sensory processing, and that will enhance better information, good input to the brain, which then stimulates less stress on the nervous system. It actually starts to turn off stress on that nervous system, and then it will start to increase more of that self-healing and self-regulating mechanisms. Your body wants to thrive, whether you're an adult or a child. It always looks to thrive. It's always looking to find optimal, I want to say optimal balance, even though I don't like the word balance because it doesn't do that. But let's just say optimal balance for just simpler, for the sake of term mistakes. Anyhow, for lack of better term. So that's what we're going to look at there. And so that's the component of what we're trying to do for every single individual I ever work with, is trying to do that. That's what chiropractic does when it comes to sensory processing. It can help get those signals out there better to get to the brain properly and then help your child thrive more and not be overwhelmed, have anxiety or anxiousness and things along that nature, to have sensation where it may feel like you're touching, it feels like a burn, but instead we can go ahead and they can start to slowly desensitize that so they don't overreact. This is the same thing that happens with individuals with PTSD, right? There's that sound or there's that one trigger, that one thing that puts them right back in that place. And so we can slowly, with stimulation, chiropractic, and better signals, we can start to build up a different part of the system to where it's going to be not as hard. It's going to be harder to go back to that place, and we can start shifting things in a different direction. So that's what I wanted to share here today on how chiropractic can help. It does amazing things. It works on every facet of an individual's health, whether you're a child, whether you're a newborn, whether you're a parent, whether you're pregnant. It does not matter. It will help you thrive in every facet of your life. If you're becoming new, I always say, like, if you have a kiddo on the way and you haven't had a kid before, man, it is so important to get your nervous system regulated beforehand. You'll be better parents in the long run. because it will help you stay more centered and grounded longer, which allows you to handle more of the uncharted waters or the constant and beautiful change that children bring in our lives as parents. And it helps you navigate it better. And this is why I got so passionate about family wellness, because if I know if I can help the whole family and they're better regulated neurologically speaking, the family thrives better. They have more fun. They can and see things through and so much more. And so that's where, again, chiropractic with sensory processing, if your child has it, if you're in the Knoxville area, Morristown area, definitely reach out to us. And, we definitely can help. And if you have a child who has sensory processing, but you're not in these areas, but you want help with chiropractic, reach out to me. I have a huge network that I can reach out to and find someone that will benefit you and what you need for you or yourself or your child or your whole family. So I want to thank you again for tuning in. Please do me a huge favor, share a review, like this, follow, subscribe to the podcast, wherever you listen to. That way you don't miss another episode. And like us on Facebook, The Wellness Path, on Instagram or on TikTok and YouTube. We're growing our channels. So definitely join us, follow us. You get to see a bunch of reels that we put, a bunch of shorts. We put a ton of stories and events, workshops that we do, and so much more. Love to have you be part of our community. So I want to thank you again, as always. And until next time, keep rocking and rolling.